Hey guys, so for this week, I'm going to be sharing with you how to make classic baked eggplant parmesan. Super easy and super tasty. So this week, we were inspired by making this recipe from Phish's Dinner and a Movie. It's Trey Anastasio's grandmother's recipe. So we've kind of adapted it just a little bit, and I'm going to be sharing with you how to make this. So stay tuned and keep on watching. Okay, so to start off, we're going to be making our basil and garlic infused sauce. So we're taking 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, smashing it to remove the peel, and we're using whole cloves of garlic here. A couple of reasons why. It's easier, it's less likely to burn in the oil, and it gives a softer and sweeter flavor in the end. And don't worry, you won't be getting like full cloves of garlic. It'll just break down in the sauce. And then in a separate bowl, we're going to be picking, I would say like 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of basil. And it's okay if you have some bruises on your basil. Just try to get the nicest ones, but it's going in the sauce, so it doesn't have to look totally perfect. Okay, so then for the tomatoes, you want to make sure that you get whole plum tomatoes. As you can see here, we did not the first time, so we had to run out and get whole plum tomatoes. We're using 2 28-ounce cans of peeled whole plum tomatoes. Okay, so we're going to be making the sauce a little bit differently, but this part is super duper important. You don't want to skip it. So we're going to be squeezing out the liquid from the tomato, trying to squeeze out as much as we can. And the reason we're doing this is so that when we put it in the oil and we fry it up, it doesn't just start steaming. If it has a lot of liquid and moisture, it'll just steam in the oil, and we don't want that. So this is super important. And you want to make sure that you're saving that liquid, the puree, and also the tomato liquid at the bottom of the bowl. We're going to put both the puree and the liquid back into the sauce at the end. And just be careful because this gets super messy. As you can see, I kind of got tomato everywhere. Okay, so then in a medium sauce pot, we're gonna add some olive oil. I would usually use canola oil for high heat cooking, but the reason we're using olive oil is for the flavor. And we're using quite a bit of olive oil here because we're essentially frying our aromatics. So we're adding in our garlic, and we're just gonna let that get golden brown, and you're gonna smell it, and it's gonna smell amazing. Okay, so now we're gonna add in our basil, and you're gonna wanna try to add it in like one single layer so that it fries evenly. And just be super careful because this is gonna splatter everywhere. So basically what we're making here is a basil and garlic infused oil, and it's gonna add so much depth and flavor into our sauce. So now we're gonna add in some chili flakes and toast those, and then we're adding in our tomatoes. So you wanna make sure that you do that in a single layer so that it fries evenly. And make sure that you take your time with this step. It's gonna take like 10 to 15 minutes to fry your tomatoes and develop that flavor in the oil. And you'll notice once it starts changing some color. And we also want to make sure that we're doing this whole process uncovered, just so that that moisture that is left over in the tomato evaporates and we develop a lot of flavor. So this is definitely what we want. The tomatoes have changed slightly in color, and they've fried and developed a lot of flavor. So now we're adding back in that tomato puree along with the tomato liquid or water, and we're just gonna let this simmer for about like an hour. We're gonna season it slightly. You don't want to over season it here because it's gonna reduce quite a bit. So yeah, we'll see you in an hour. Okay, so it's been about an hour, and you can see that the moisture has evaporated and there's a lot of flavor that's concentrated. Okay, so moving on to the eggplant, we're going to peel and slice it. You can use a peeler here, and I would too if I had one, but I left all of my tools at the restaurant, so I'm gonna be using a knife to peel it, and then I'm gonna cut it in half, and I'm gonna make 1/4 to 1/8 inch thick slices here. Okay, so this is another important step to ensure that our eggplant is crispy and not greasy. So we're gonna line our eggplant on a sheet tray lined with a rack in a single layer, and we're just gonna salt this to extract moisture and also the bitterness from the vegetable. Okay, so we're just gonna leave this on the sheet tray in the refrigerator overnight, and then the next day we're gonna pat it down dry just with some paper towels. And we really wanna make sure that it's super dry so that the breading mixture adheres to it and it maintains a crispy texture. So we're just gonna dip it in some beaten egg and then into some seasoned flour mixture. We just seasoned it with salt and pepper. But you can add like chili flakes or anything here. I like to use one hand for the egg mixture, so one hand for the wet and then one hand for the dry. That way it keeps things pretty clean. Okay, so you just want to repeat that with the remaining eggplant. And this is also a great recipe to do with your partner or just with a friend. Me and my boyfriend made this recipe together, and I kind of just passed these pieces along to him and he started frying them up. So yeah, it's a great recipe to do with couples. So in a medium saucepan or a saute pan, we're just heating up some canola oil and we're adding in our eggplant just until it is golden brown. This first one we did here wasn't super golden just because the oil wasn't hot enough, but you'll see that once we maintain the right amount of heat, we get kind of a nice crispy texture. Okay, bear with me. We are almost there, guys. So we're just gonna pat off our eggplant. This is, again, gonna make sure that it's not greasy in the final product. And then we're grating about 2 cups of Parmesan here. We used about half of this block here. And then in your desired pan, we actually don't have a baking dish, which is really funny. We should get one. But we're using a brownie pan, which totally worked just as good. We're layering in our delicious sauce mixture. And then we're gonna layer in our crispy fried eggplant. Then we're putting more sauce on top, spreading that out evenly with a spatula. And then we're just gonna add some of that nice freshly grated Parmesan cheese. And then the eggplant again. We're not adding any mozzarella cheese here. Trey Anastasio swears to not add any mozzarella here or else it would be eggplant mozzarella. So we're doing just as he says with the Parmesan, just sticking with the Parmesan. Okay, so then we kind of started to run out of the remaining ingredients. So we kind of just made like a mini layer of eggplant, sauce, and cheese. And then guys, we are done. Oh my gosh, yes, this is amazing. We are finished. We're just gonna throw it in our preheated oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And it took about an hour to cook. I know in the recipe it said 30 minutes, but for us, it took us about an hour to fully heat through. And guys, you really have to try this out. It is the best eggplant parm I've ever had. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys try this one out. Bye.